NCRP Productions presents Dishonored by Modiphius Games. We're going to begin with character generation. If you don't have an interest in learning character generation for Dishonored or the 2D20 system, move on to episode 1. And now, character creation.
Themes that are very similar to a number of games that you'll find. I'm honestly not sure if Dishonored came out before Blades in the Dark.
The video game did.
Yeah, the video game did. They were definitely trying to make their own Dishonored game with Blades in the Dark. A lot of inspiration there.
Yeah, I figured. I thought I thought Blades in the Dark was done from the Jared books. I cannot remember the name, but basically Jared's an assassin.
To be honest, lots of inspiration is pulled from everywhere. There's no such thing as an original idea anymore.
Well, the Bible, but D20s. We just need 2 D20s.
You just need 2 D20s.
Do they need to be different?
Nope. They can be exactly the same if you want.
I just didn't know if you needed them to be different in the sense of you got to call a blue or a green or a...
Gotcha. So
Are we running? Everything's going good?
It's going.
All right.
It looks good.
So the only negative is we don't have the sound effects I was hoping for, but we would all have to have headphones if we did.
And if this were more an official thing we were going to be posting up, we'd probably have a good afternoon, good morning, whatever, listeners. Welcome
last
to
time on.
And that's what I'm looking at. GCP has that. Last time on the Glass Cannon podcast. So tonight we're going to be sitting down for our first game of Dishonored, which literally nobody's played before.
Nope.
At least the role-playing games.
I played the video game.
You played the video game?
I played the video
It's
game.
fantasy adjacent, right? Or is it Victorian?
It's like... Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, it's sort of an alternate history, Victorian era sort of setting. I hesitate
Victorian
to call
Gothic, the thing we just read.
I hesitate to call it steampunk because it's not, because while there are definitely some more advanced technologies that would definitely be had, there are clockwork things. It's more everything has to do more with whale oil. Whale oil has been determined, and whale bones and everything like to do with whales have been determined to be a more potent fuel source. There's something about whales and their what they call leviathans. They're way bigger than whales in our real world.
Okay, so this is not Earth.
This is not Earth.
Eskimos.
Yep.
they had the whale-cornered whale on before us.
But with the discovery of the potency of like whale oil and pretty much everything in the leviathans, a booming industry sort of came through. Everything in this world is basically powered through this source. They have actually managed to harness electricity through the whale oil.
So is it actually whale oil or is it Leviathan oil?
Well, they call it whale oil, but
okay.
Yep.
No, that's fine.
Yep. But
Ghost Rock.
But, and this is something that is of much contention, some people have discovered that magic is actually, this might not be knowledge to your characters at this moment, but there is actually there's some connection with the whales to a mystical sort of place called the Void. And the Void is where the source of magic comes from. Not everyone has magic. It's actually very, very rare. As a matter of fact, there's an entity itself that will choose people to bear its mark and give them its power. There's usually only 8 people in the world that is usually marked.
In the world? So
in the world.
It's a precocious sprite or it's a malevolent spirit?
It is... It is what it is the way I'm going to put it. Most people who try to seek it or venerate it usually don't get its blessing. Those that oppose it don't really get its blessing either. It has no interest in those that seek its approval or that. It is more interested in people it finds interesting to it.
Precocious. Mm-hmm. It's goddamn changeling game.
But so for this particular game, to give without going too much into history. Sorry, your guys.
No, you're fine.
Good.
Likes.
Ignore the man behind the curtain.
Character creation is actually a pretty straightforward thing. I don't know how many of you have played a 2D20 system.
Not
I don't, unless
never.
Okay.
Mutant Year Zero.
I've read a couple. Right? No, Mutant Year Zero was D6s.
Yeah, Mutant Year Zero has its own
Oh,
D6
then
dice.
I'm sorry, Ty. I have not even played it, so none of us have.
None of us have.
I've
So
got a couple.
a 2d20 system is this one is a lot more streamlined than most 2d20 systems, which I appreciate, especially for us making a quick character and
Sure.
starting this session tonight. The idea is that you will be taking certain so you see on here you have skills, which are like fight, move, study, blah blah blah, and styles, which is boldly, carefully, cleverly, blah blah blah. Each of these will have a rating in them. If you're wanting to do an action of certain things, so let's say you're trying to move quietly, like you're trying to stealth someone up there. I go, okay, you add your move and your quietly together, and you roll 2d20, and you were trying to match or go below that number.
Gotcha.
And every die that matches or goes below is a success.
Each single die, so you could have 2 successes.
You could have 2 successes. If you roll a 1, that's 2 successes on that die. So you could get 4 successes if you roll double ones.
So what's a 20?
So a 20 is critical failure.
Okay.
Yeah. So
it works in the opposite of what I
Yep.
wanted
exactly,
to work.
you're trying to go roll low
Oh my
in those
gosh,
ones.
it's Warhammer Deathwatch all over again.
But now there's also something known as focuses, and you see focuses there. So there might be certain talents, like you might be good at, bare knuckle boxing, or you might be good at like leaping ledges. Those are just examples there. If you're doing something in your skills and styles that matches one of the focuses, rather than just being a 1 that counts as 2 successes, focuses can go from 2 to 5. If let's just say you have a focus of 3 in leaping ledges, and you do your move forcefully. Let's say you're just trying to jump across the bridge there. If you roll 1s, 2s, or 3s,
Perfect.
that counts as 2 successes.
Okay.
So, pretty simple, straightforward. You'll have talents. There's contacts. Powers we're not going to worry about too much, or the mana. There is a talent that could have you marked by the supernatural entity in question. None of you for this story are going to be
Yeah,
marked
because there's
with
only
that.
8.
Yes. For this particular story, we're not going to worry about that.
Ain't that special.
However, I'm not going to say that there might not be some influences here or there.
Okay.
So, for now, we're just going to start with getting character creation started here. So, I'm just going to open up to the book at the beginning here.
What
So,
are we making? Are we making a D&D party? We're going to have a cleric and a magic user? No.
No,
Imagine
magic
a
user.
cletch, a thief, and a fighter?
well, actually, let's
Thief,
get
thief, and a thief.
let's give a start. So,
All of us are gonna play assassins.
this is going to be the first session of a adventure known as the Oil Trail.
Okay.
Its focuses on themes of class struggle. It is an adventure set after the events of the Malurian insurrection in the year of 1827 in the city of Dunwall. Now, the Malurian insurrection, I had to do my research on this one for this setting here to give you a read on this one. The Morley insurrection. The Morley people are physically imposing and inclined towards philosophy. Even the meanest Malurian peasant or the filthiest chimney sweep knows a song to break a heart and has a body to break an arm if need be. Perhaps this is what led the island to become the only nation to attempt to break from the Empire of the Isles in the recorded history. Basically, the whole setting is set around these sort of isles that interact with each other, all as under a single empire. Although minor strikes and riots had come prior to 1801, and not just the Morlarian people, it was in that year armed conflict opened. The stated reason was harsh exploitation of the Malarian working class, as observed by wealthy mercantile families who visited Dunwall and other parts of Bristol. The war was conducted primarily via sea, with privateers raiding supplies and clashes between naval vessels from both islands. A handful of land strikes from Morley involved stealth missions through the Dunwall sewers, but no land was ever officially taken or held. Though the insurrection culminated in the assassination of Empress Larissa Olisker, Morley eventually crumbled in the face of the Empire's superior economic base and Bristol's famed navy. However, most Malarians harbored independent leanings, and you won't see a food riot or labor strike without someone flying the old banner.
God, it's like you just read it right from the book.
Yep.
If this weren't a podcast, you wouldn't know how he read it.
Good memory.
Yeah, it'd be great. But basically, you are going to be You are going to be unified by a single truth that ties you together. That you were forged in rebellion.
That's first truth?
Yeah, well, that's not
right
necessarily going to be your first or second truth.
That's just our tie-in together.
That's just your tie-in together.
Forged in rebellion.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you all took part in the Morley insurrection, which was violently quashed by the Empire Isles. When we start, you are going to be currently being transported to a prison in Dunwall. There's a few questions I'm going to ask during character creation as we go along here. Which will help you. You can definitely talk amongst each other, go about as a group in these questions, answers, and motivate them to establish relationships with each other from the get-go, because you were all part of this rebellion together. Obviously, there's I believe only two of us have actually played the video game, so it might be, some things might have to be a little more explanation here or there for background if we're really wanting to get into it.
Yeah, I don't remember none of that. I don't remember any of that.
There's a
being part
guy.
Of the game.
He's the guard of the Empress/princess. The princess dies, and he goes around killing everyone.
Close enough. 5 out of 10.
Yeah. In the game, all that mattered to me was, there's a guy, I gotta go kill that guy.
Essentially, yeah. This game actually does encourage a lot of that fast pace sort of feeling in the video game. It was actually something I've really felt was really well done, at least in the reading of this. Now, let's start with. I know names are usually like the hardest things to come up with.
Yeah,
when we get there last.
and age. Should we all be young, old? Does it matter?
It doesn't matter.
All right,
good.
Because
the rebellion?
The rebellion started in 1801. It is now 1827 after the war has ended. So the war has ended. You guys are not you guys are pretty much just after the war have been captured because of your participation in the insurrection. So
it ended that much long. Oh wow, that was a long insurrection. Okay.
Yep, long insurrection. 26 years. 26-year war. So whether you guys were there from the beginning, or some of you could have been very late in there, but one way or another, you were all part of the insurrection and are now have been imprisoned and been taken to Dunwall. There's a few questions. I'll just put these out there. One of the questions is, who were you before the insurrection? Did you have family, a profession?
Okay.
What did you do in that things? Did you know about the rest, like the rest of the people in your group? Okay. And if so, what was your relationship with them? Why did you join the Morley insurrection? And during the insurrection, you did do something notorious. What was it? So each of you have done something that was notorious in the rebellion.
And notorious meaning other people know about it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep. It's definitely probably one of the reasons why you've been captured and are being taken.
So we're famous,
So-
or at least infamous.
Depending on who you talk to.
Are we going to talk about that right now?
Yeah, well,
Right.
we can definitely talk about that right now if you want.
I
Otherwise,
just don't know whatever
let's start putting characters, and that'll help us.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's start with personal truths. And this
Okay.
might be something to help with those other things I mentioned here. In game terms, a person's innate nature is defined by a pair of personal truths. They describe the important parts of the character in a single word or short phrase. This may be a character's heritage or some other description of their origin, encapsulating all manner of differences, big and small. You have two personal truths at the start of play. One describing an innate core trait of your character, and one describing an irredeemable problem that the character struggles with.
Oh, so hubris and
Yeah.
hindrances
And virtues and stuff
virtues
like
and
that.
edges. All right,
And
all right.
Yeah.
those are our first and second truths.
So, yeah, those are your first and second truths. So, like the
First is the good thing.
Yep.
Second is
the first could refer to their
thing
moral
that drives
code,
you.
such as never do to others what you wouldn't want to do to yourself. It can be a virtue by which guides their lives, such as charity. It could also be someone, such as their daughter, and it would be someone so close to as to justify the fact that your character practically lives with them. That kind of thing. Something of your first truth that is your moral center, for lack of a better term.
second truth's already do unto others first.
The second truth is something that has brought you hardship through your life. It could be a physical disability, such as the truth blindness. It could be a vice, such as greed. It could be a more complex event or revelation about them, such as a terrible secret, or the fact that they suffer from an immense guilt for some reason. These are far from the only ways to build personal truths, but they're a good starting point. So, up to you guys on how you want to think about this. And this might actually help in the idea of, like, why you joined the rebellion, why you, who you were before, and how it has changed you.
So I came up with something right off the bat, and I think what I would enjoy, I've been in the war a long time, since I was young. And my dad was a blacksmith, and before the war, I was an apprentice to him. And then, he never liked the overbearing nature of the, what are they called?
The Dunwall or the aristocracy.
The aristocracy. He hated it, so he tried to skirt that as much as possible. And when the rebellion happened, he was willing. He made weaponry. He aided the rebellion as much as possible until it was too. Because he had me and my mom and all that. But what did it was when one of the Dunwall people killed my mom. That was what sent him over. And after that, he really started preaching about we need to do what's necessary. And so that's I think that's one of my truths, I need to, do what is necessary for freedom.
Okay. And do you feel that is your moral center, or do you feel that might be your hindrance?
I think I want to say that's more my moral No, it's my hindrance. And I'll tell you, because I know what secret I have and what I think I got thrown away for. So, do what's necessary.
Okay.
Necessary.
Which, could be seen as virtuous to some, but it can be definitely detrimental to others. I see you were writing some things down. Ty.
I am.
Okay, you're still thinking.
So I learned blacksmithing. So I was able to craft a lot of things, but I was also a little bit more I was also interested in, let's say, I don't want to say necessarily alchemy, but let's say my mom was also maybe she did some work with herbs and stuff, as also a way to help the community. But I learned maybe to work in alchemical ways, so maybe I'm good with gunpowder, or maybe I learned to work with that. Because what I was thinking my big secret was, is that I thought that I was going to blow up a military hospital that just had soldiers. It was not just soldiers. It was civilians too. And so that's weighed heavily on me as well. So while I did what was necessary, and I know all those soldiers deserved it, all of those innocents still weigh on me. Okay. So I think that'll be my second truth. And then I'm still kind of thinking about my first truth. But yeah, before the war, blacksmith. And I forget the other.
Did you know the rest? And during why did you join? Sounds pretty simple there. During the insurrection, you did something notorious. Sounds like we figured that out. You bombed a major hospital, which you thought was only soldiers, but also innocent civilians as well. Some people probably still think you're a hero. You did what was necessary for the rebellion, but that's still a guilt and a crime that you committed. War crimes are a heck of a thing.
Yeah, ain't they just?
Yes. Thank you.
And then the first truth was just something center to us.
Yes,
correct?
yes, your moral center.
My moral center. Okay, give me a moment. I'm gonna think a little bit more on that one.
So, Ty, you were looking through some stuff. What have you got?
So I'm thinking my character is actually, well, I guess he was a bar owner.
Okay.
His name is Angus Fowlin.
Okay.
And he
got a name already. Excellent.
Names are one thing I can come up with pretty much on the spot, unfortunately.
That is a rare talent.
That is a rare talent. I wish I had that ability.
Well, so my character is very much, he's just kind of your friendly neighborhood barkeeper. He just kind of ran by the docks, and he's very good with his hands. So he's basically one of the first flair bartenders almost. So he very much played to the crowd a lot. He was raised by his mom. His father is actually one of the aristocrats that we were trying to overthrow.
Okay.
And that's kind of his big secret that nobody knows.
So your father's an aristocrat. Okay.
But he's very much, because kind of his father had raped his mom and left him to, and that's how he got the bar. Is his father kind of bought it to kind of don't tell anyone that you're my son, and then,
keep it quiet, and that sort of thing.
Which he didn't, and he actually named the bar is named after his father, and that's basically, he didn't actually open the bar for very long until his father came and was like, hey, you need to close this down. And I basically flipped him the bird and told him to get out.
Gotcha.
And then, essentially, my character's he pretty much ignores any of the laws that are placed overhead by the aristocrats. He's very much just justice before the laws of whatever people. And
Yep. Gotcha.
Unfortunately, I don't really have a notorious action yet, unfortunately.
That's fine. You can definitely still think about it. There's plenty of stuff to go through character creation before we get to your notorious moment.
But that's kind of what I'm thinking right now.
Okay.
And I am infinitely lost, so I've got a question for you. There's a line on here that says archetypes.
We'll get to that in a moment.
That's not going to help me create the background. Like I'm not going to.
Well, we can definitely come up with that. This might be how you how you interacted with the war and stuff like that. But if we want to skip ahead, just if it's something that'll help you out.
I apologize.
I kind of
totally
assumed what Outlook was, but I might be wrong.
No, that's fine. We'll get to that in a little bit here. Outlook is, believe it or not, Outlook's an optional rule, but we'll go into that. I'm not going to worry about it this session.
I just wrote its payback.
So as you've noticed, you have your skills and your styles. You all start with fours in all those stats. They'll increase depending on your archetype, but we'll get to that. In just a second.
Okay.
So just
four in all skills and all archetypes.
Yes, but we'll get to that in just a moment. So there are, I believe, 13 archetypes in total. And I'm just going to read them out real quick. I won't go into too in-depth on them. But we have Assassin, Commander, Courtier, Duelist, Entrepreneur, Explorer, Guide, Hunter, Inventor, Sharpshooter, Scholar, Scout, and Miscreant.
I like Miscreant.
So I just heard a collection of them is what would an explorer explore? Are there still are we talking Amerigo de Vespucci? I'm not close enough.
Yeah, if you move it a little.
No.
Are we exploring new lands that we haven't been to before? What is an explorer?
I have the archetype right here. So, Explorer. You venture into wild, untamed, and dangerous places, watchful for both danger and the valuable things to be discovered there. You might be a surveyor or prospector seeking to exploit resources to exploit, or one of the daring few who has ventured into the Pandician continent, which is a foreign continent in a way. You might instead be someone who studies the natural world but have no interest in studying in a laboratory.
Okay.
So those are some examples of an idea of what an explorer is.
Gotcha. Okay.
There is definitely a lot of seafaring and stuff like that. Obviously, there's a lot of whaling going on, so there's still some areas of the seas that are yet unexplored.
I'm thinking since I'm having my guy have been in the war for quite some time, I was interested in the commander at first, and then maybe inventor.
If you want me to read both, I can do that for you.
Yeah.
Commander, you're a leader, skilled at rallying those around you during the clamor of battle, or getting the best from the fighters under your care. You might be a military officer, a gang boss, or a drill sergeant or instructor, or someone forged by war. As for inventor, you are a creator, aspiring to be the kind of fame and notoriety as Esmond Roseborough, Anton Sokolov, Harold Joplin, or Kiran Judosh. You might create machinery driven by clockwork and whale oil, or new and exotic forms of weapons, or elixirs that restore or enhance the body or mind. It sounds like inventor might be more based on what you've been talking about, where your
it's
where your
most certainly where you go in a lot of games.
Especially with the bombing.
Yeah. So I think I'll go with inventor.
Okay. Now we'll go over all that details in just a moment.
Yeah, perfect.
Ty, did you need me to go over the list again? Or?
If you could just, I think I'm gonna go meet Miscreant, but go ahead and read it to me and make sure I actually know what the word miscreant means. Okay. I think I know, but all of a sudden I'm like, wait a minute.
Yep.
That's like a street rat, basically. Right?
You're a fighter, tough and brutal. You might be a soldier or part of the watch, or a prison guard, or personal security, or back alley goon, or a bare-knuckle prize fighter. Whatever your battlefield, you can take punishment as much as you deal it out.
Okay, it's not what I thought it was, but you know what? I can pull that off. You know what? I'm okay with that.
I mean, you have plenty of bar fights. You had to be your own bouncer,
Yep. And as far as my horrible, whatever it was called, action or endeavor of it, my father finally got fed up with me not changing the name of the bar. So he grabbed a bunch of the guards basically, and he marched them in.
Mm-hmm.
But I heard about it ahead of time, so I waited until they came in, and as they were looking for me, I set the bar on fire.
Excellent. Feeling an aristocrat. Whether or not people knew it was your father or not, is another story. Someone high up? Barry, did you need me to go over any of those?
No. I think the explorer works for me. Not necessarily the one who's going to open up new lands, but the scientist on the road.
Gotcha.
Which also allows me a connection then with Pedro's character. So.
Excellent.
So I have my first truth. The truths have to be fully true, meaning these aren't something that you've faked and changed. Okay.
Right.
So for my first truth, I believe in equality for all. What I wanted to do was tie it to a second truth wherein I believe in equality for all, but the reality is I know there isn't. And I'm not against classism, status, those kind of things.
Gotcha.
I'm not sure how to write the second one, though.
Well, it's completely possible that you can have that idea. It's like, people deserve to be equal. And I hate to go Animal Farm here, but some people are more equal than others.
Second truth. Some people, that works for me. Some people are more equal. Which is probably why. So the rebellion was to do what?
The rebellion was that the Moray people have been basically subjugated by the aristocracy and stuff like that. So it was trying to a lot of labor forces and stuff like that. So it was trying to actually be able to take back their own cultural identity, be able to be seen as equals and not treated as basically just back-breaking labor, and actually be seen as people. So. Of course, that's more the idealized spin on it.
Absolutely. How old are you, Pedro?
41 is what.
Perfect.
You said the war had been going on for 20 something years. Yeah.
26 years.
Yeah, that makes sense to me.
Yep. Started in 1801, ended 1827.
Perfect.
And we were not necessarily in the war for that entire time.
Right.
Okay.
My character specifically was, but yeah.
So it's been a heck of a thing. All right. So we got archetypes, we got that, we got truths for everyone.
I think I'm thinking my first truth might be, protect those that can't, or like something along those lines, like, which is probably also why it hurt me so much that I took down new civilians. Like, they were Dunwall civilians, but
that you and I would have similar, not identical truths, but enough that
what
we
was
could
yours
definitely equality for all.
Yeah.
But some people are more equal than others.
That's my second truth.
So, okay.
Is outlook what it seems? Your general outlook, your general demeanor?
It's technically part of an optional rule that can give you more talents and stuff. We're not going to worry about that. You can write something in there if you want.
So like positive or
negative or
dour,
or something like that. I mean, for you at this point, it's just flair. It's not going to have any mechanical benefits or negatives.
Beautiful. Okay.
So let's go over.
Pedro, you got a name yet?
Norton Elton Smith.
Norton. Hey, Norton.
Elton Smith, yeah.
So let's go over, and I'm going to go
Angus,
alphabetically here.
Angus Fowler.
All right, so let's go over the archetypes and what they give you. So as I said, all your skills and styles are
Start at 4.
I start at 4. So let's start with our explorer, since you're first in the
book?
alphabetical.
Perfect.
Yep. So you gain +2.
As I said, some people are not equal. I understand going first.
You get +2 to study.
To study, all right.
+2 to survive.
Of course.
And +1 to either fight or tinker.
Very good. All right, and otherwise, now, should I just write in 4s for the others right now?
Yep.
Okay.
And
do
now,
I get any style changes, or
you do have style changes,
Okay.
and I'm going to go over that. You gain a +1 to any of these 2. You can either put 1 in carefully, 1 in forcefully, or 1 in swiftly. And, you have 2 +1s to put in either of them.
Oh, +1 twice.
Yep.
And could I put +2, or two of them can have a +1?
You can put if you want to stack them, you can put it in one. But I would recommend making sure you have other options.
You said cleverly or carefully?
Carefully, forcefully, or swiftly.
Swiftly, got it.
Yep.
All right. And then the others are all 4s?
The others are all 4s.
Good.
Now we're going to talk about focuses.
Focuses, very good.
So you gain 4 focuses. I'll go over a full list, but they have some recommended ones.
Just go with the recommended.
Okay, cool. So you'll have 11 points to split between those 4 focuses. Mm-hmm. They technically start at 1, so basically you're going... When you put your first point in, it's
2.
a 2.
Okay.
Okay. But they can't go higher than 5. You have 11 points to split between them. Appropriate options include boats, medicine, natural philosophy, resilience, resolve, ships, swimming, tracking, and wilderness. If you think of anything else you might want to go and have a good explanation for it, you can pitch it.
Do you envision ships being a waste, this being a one-shot, and you know the adventure?
Since we're only going to do this, there's not going to be a lot to do with ships in this particular adventure.
Read me the first 3 again.
Boats, medicine, natural philosophy.
And is natural philosophy what I think it is from the 1800s? It's basically science.
Yes.
Science! Very good.
Yep.
Oh, science.
I have mine.
Okay, cool. Let's see. Talents. You get a talent from the list below, and I'll read them to you. Expert cartographer. Mm-hmm. Any skill test you attempt to create a map of an area or produce detailed directions.
No, that's Ty's character.
To navigate through an area is reduced to a difficulty of 2 to a minimum by a difficulty of 2 to a minimum of 0. So you could be very good at making maps. Mm-hmm. First glance. When you first enter a location you've never seen before or encounter a type of creature you've never seen before, you may make a study swiftly test with a difficulty of 0. Any momentum you generate must be spent to ask the GM questions about the location or creature as appropriate, as per the ask a question momentum option. I'll go over momentum and chaos and other things soon.
Star Trek is a 2D20 game.
Yes.
Because it has momentum.
Yep.
Okay, I have played one, and I like it.
Yes.
Read, what is that one again? Because I think I'll just go with that.
First glance. I'll read the last 2 just for sake. Hardy Traveler. Your stress track is 1 step higher than normal. Surveyor. When you make a study, carefully test to find something that's hidden or rare. You may re-roll a single d20.
And I only get 1 anyway, right?
Yep. Okay. Only 1.
I'm going first glance.
Okay. First glance. Perfect. And I believe the inventor's next. Okay. So Pedro.
Yes.
Your skills. You get a +2 to study.
Okay.
+2 to tinker.
Okay.
And you get a +1 to either survive or talk.
Survive or talk. Okay. Perfect.
And for styles, you gain a +1 to any two of boldly, carefully, or cleverly.
+2 to just one of those?
A +1 to any 2.
Oh, okay. This one's 5, and then... Perfect. Got it.
Focuses. You gain 4 focuses. You have 11 points to split between these 4 focuses. Appropriate options include carriages, engineering, explosives. As I look at you
have to
because
have
no one explosives. As I
But you
look
have
at
to take
you,
it at a 1.
even though the microphone cannot pick up my visual face.
Explosives, but you take it at 1.
Firearms, locks, medicine, natural philosophy, and surgery. Those are some examples. If you have an idea that's not on that, what I suggested.
I have engineering, explosives. I'll probably need natural sciences, or what is it? Natural philosophy.
Natural philosophy. Yep.
Sure. Philosophy. Sorry, could you read them again for me, please? So I have engineering, explosive, and natural philosophy.
Okay. Carriages, engineering, explosives, firearms, locks, medicine, natural philosophy, and surgery.
I think I'm gonna have to go with firearms.
Mm-hmm.
Firearms.
Okay.
Gotta survive that war.
Yep. Talents. Now there are belongings that you start with, but you're in prison, so you don't get them. Sorry.
Damn it! The old prison start again.
There you choose. That's something I've almost forgot, Barry.
Yes.
You have
Yes.
on contacts. You have one contact with a neutral relationship. We can develop that later. We're not going to really get into that right now. You're in prison, but same with you, Pedro. You have one contact with a neutral relationship. So for your inventor talent, one of these inventor talents you can get, controlled detonation. When you attempt a tinker carefully test to use a grenade, explosives, or some other volatile substance, such as a canister of whale oil, to damage or destroy an object or structure, and you buy one or more d20s by spending momentum, you may re-roll a single d20 and ignore the first complication suffered.
Okay.
Personal notes. Excuse me. Your notes and designs and all documents and schematics you produce are written in a unique shorthand or cipher that only you know. Other characters require a study carefully test with a difficulty of 4 in order to decipher your works. In other words, they have to get 4 successes in order to be able to decipher.
I get one of these, right?
You're going to get one of these. I'm just reading these ones so you know what your options are. When you work with schematics or blueprints you have created yourself, or when you have transcribed your style, you reduce the difficulty of tinker tests by 1 to a minimum of 0. Pushing the boundaries of progress. When you attempt to think cleverly to design or construct a new device or machine, and you buy one or more d20s by adding to chaos, you may also reduce the difficulty of the test by 1 to a minimum of 0. Okay. And salvage for parts. You may attempt a tinker test with a difficulty of 1 to erase an existing piece of equipment, transforming them into spare parts which can be used to help construct other items or devices.
Well, this was a really tough choice, but I'm gonna have to go with the explosive.
So many options.
I mean, it was it could have been any of them, but yeah, explosions one I'm gonna go with. I'll probably need a reminder on what that does, but
That's fine.
Was that everything?
That was everything at this time.
Perfect.
Now onto our miscreant. So, for skills, you gain a +2 to fight, +2 to survive. Everyone's getting bonuses to survive. This is going to be great. Hopefully you live.
It's a one shot, so everyone has to die by the end of this. Understood?
At least you're going to be done. Real tough to get to.
It's not the dirty dozen, it's the dirty 3, but...
And you get a +1 to either move or talk.
We'll go talk. That makes sense.
Oh, we don't want to hear you talk.
It's not like we just bought all these mics or anything.
Right.
Styles. You get a +1 to any of the following two.
Turn Ty's
Boldly,
mic off.
carefully, or forcefully.
+1, you said?
Yep, +1 to any two. Boldly, carefully, or forcefully.
Understood.
You gain 4 focuses. You have 11 points split between these 4 focuses. Appropriate options include brawling, intimidate, fencing, which I believe fencing is actually fencing goods, not necessarily sword fighting.
Or building them.
Resilience and resolve. Actually, fencing might actually be actual fencing.
What was the second one again?
Intimidate.
Intimidate. Nice.
Yep. And like I said, these are just examples. If you have an idea or want me to read from the bigger list, I can do that.
Well, I don't understand what the focuses actually do for us.
So the focuses. So like I said, when you roll your d20, you're trying to get below your skill and style, whatever one I
Added
assign.
together, yeah.
Yeah. So if you roll a 1, that dice counts as 2 successes.
True.
Focuses is if you were doing something that relates to your focus. So let's
Intimidating someone.
let's say you heard intimidates at 3. If you roll 1, 2, or 3, that counts as 2 successes. Rather than if you
Or
didn't
4,
have a
right?
focus into that.
It extends your critical.
Does
extends
the
your
Okay,
critical
I
go
see.
up to your focus number or one above?
Um,
So if I'm
No.
boldly 4, do I need to roll a 1 through 4, or do I get a 1 through 5?
you need to run 1 through 4.
So it goes up to your focus.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's basically just means you have more chances to succeed.
Understood. I get
Okay.
it now.
Yep, yep. Okay.
I think that adds up to 11.
Talents. Single talent. No belongings. Contact. You have 1 contact with a neutral relationship. We're not worried too much about it right now. So of your options you can pick, Dauntless. When you survive forcefully as part of a contest to resist being threatened or intimidated, you reduce the difficulty of your test by 1 to a minimum of 0. Fight dirty. When you attempt a fight test to make an attack and you buy 1 or more dice by adding chaos, you may inflict +1 stress for each die you bought by adding to chaos.
Okay.
So basically, you can get more dice to roll, and for every bonus die you buy by adding to chaos, which is a pool for the GM to be able to pull from, you add extra damage to whatever it is you are attacking. So, momentum's for you guys.
Yep.
Chaos is for me.
Yeah, no, it is a neat system. I didn't realize that's what it was. I like the momentum system.
Put your back into it. When you attempt a skill test forcefully, you may choose to put in extra effort. If you do so, you gain 2 momentum on the skill test, but after the test has been resolved, you automatically gain the truth fatigued. Shoulder charge. When you succeed at a fight forcefully test to make an attack and you move into reach of your enemy as part of this action, you may spend 1 momentum to impose a knocked prone truth on your opponent in addition to the attack's normal effects.
I think I'm going to do the fighting dirty one.
Yeah.
That honestly.
Yeah, give me those points, that chaos. Oh, is that a phoenix? Hey, Phoenix.
That is Mr. Phoenix.
Fighting
I
dirty.
haven't seen you in a long time. How are you,
Oh
Phoenix?
man, you should have seen it the other night. I brought Mabel over, and she hasn't seen Barry in 6 months.
Yeah, I realized you forgot to bring Mabel tonight. But
Oh yeah, I was like recording, barking. I was like, let's focus on one. Let's see how we do first before I
before
get
we
Mabel
add the
barking everywhere. But
Thank goodness this isn't actually going to be like going up on the podcast because it's like I'm distracted by the cat.
See, this is up on the paywall to see our first.
yeah, this is the one we save for when we have the Patreon and they get to see.
Do you want to see how we started?
Do you want to see the shit episode? It's still pretty good.
Hey! We haven't seen how well I actually can run this game. We don't know.
We haven't seen it fall apart yet.
But like Mabel, at one point, we're just doing our thing, and she's been somewhere. We just see her. First, we see Winter just tear through, and then Mabel just as fast as she can just circle.
it was very funny. And she made the circle twice. She ran around this room and she ran through the kitchen and ended up over there. But Winter seemed to be into it. I mean, Winter wasn't hissing. Her hair wasn't up. And when I went over to go see what she was looking at, Winter's just sitting at the bottom of the stairs like, yeah, whatever.
That was fun.
She must have wagged her tail just right to tell Mabel, I gotta stop right now.
All right. So putting it all together.
Yes.
So stress track.
Ooh.
This is used for your physical health, particularly in combat situations. It's equal to your survival skill.
There we go.
Oh, I'm glad I put a little bit in there.
That's amazing.
And that's why everyone got it.
yeah.
Do we want to... Because when we get stressed, I'm guessing we fill in. Okay, so
Yeah. Do you want to make a mark of where you go?
Tiny arrow.
So void. You have 1 void point available to spend.
Do we want to spend it?
I'll go over all this stuff in just a little bit. Focuses. You may gain an additional focus with a rating of 2, or add +1 to 2 of your existing focuses. You may not increase any focus above 5.
Oh, wow.
So that's something we just get right now, or
Yep.
And we could
cool.
invent a new focus.
Yep. And you get that one starting at 2, or you can add +1 to any 2 existing ones you already have, or +1.
Oh, you get it starting at 2, not starting at 3. So it's either a new one or 2 old ones.
Yes.
Got it.
And you get a +1 in either of those, in 2 of your currently existing ones, if that's what you choose.
Considering I was a blacksmith, would like metalworking be something that...
I believe that is something in there.
Yeah, I figure there's something.
yeah, I'm just kind of going with like the book focuses right now because I don't really know the world well enough or think I don't know. I'm not confident enough to think of
Just think of bartending.
yeah,
Flair.
but what has I can make Molotovs.
Mixology.
Yeah, you can make something. Yeah.
Mixology. Poisons.
Well, yeah. I mean,
You
yeah.
can always
How about
put
poisons?
There isn't a metalworking, but you can definitely put a metalworking
I
one.
mean, I think just something metal.
You can definitely invent that. That's fine. I have no problem with that.
I feel like there's. I was like blacksmithing, but that's a little narrow. I feel like I kind of know tinkering and all that, just metalworking. Metallurgy, would that be the?
That would probably
Metallurgy.
that
Metallurgy
sounds
Metallurgy is generally
more evocative. That sounds more evocative to me.
All right, cool.
All right.
I'm sure this podcast could look wonderful if us just randomly clapping at some point.
Right. Well, it's not a good job. It's the freaking fruit
Yeah.
flies.
And every clap is a dead fruit fly, and believe me when I say that's a good thing. Does anybody know the answer to what's the only kind of good kind of bug?
They sucked his brains out.
Never forget.
Okay, I've got my focuses.
Starship Troopers. Have you ever seen that?
Oh yes, I have.
Yeah. It's an older one. Yeah.
Great movie.
Oh man.
I think I've seen 3 of them.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you only
there's
wanted
like-
to see one.
there's only- Hey, I'll tell you, the fourth one where Rico comes back is
That's the
not
third
bad.
one.
Is that the third
Yeah.
one? Oh, the fourth one's animated.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's an animated one.
I think the animated one actually fits more with the book.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Well, there's the animated series and there's
The
like,
animated
a
series,
movie.
Roughneck Chronicles.
Yeah.
Oh my God,
I
that is-
heard
I
that
have
was
it on
really
DVD. It is incredible.
I surprisingly actually have the entire role playing game for that.
There's
A friend gave it to me. It's a D20. It's basically Dungeons and Dragons. It's a
Yep.
D20
Sure.
modern.
Yep.
But yeah, it's a whole system. Has the suits, everything. It's more towards the book.
Right.
Like yeah, it's neat.
I
And
played it. It was a lot of fun. We killed a lot of bugs.
Shan gave it to me. That's who.
Ah.
Yeah. So I would.
That was not actually the one who I think I played with, actually.
Oh.
But would you like to know more?
Exactly.
I actually used that joke at work today.
I'm doing my part. Anyway, by trying to get us back on
Void
task.
Oh yeah.
Stress void
What
points.
game were you playing?
Oh, clearly there was a better game we should be playing now. I'm gonna close this up. Good
Okay,
game,
we're playing
guys.
Starship Troopers. Scrap it. Scrap it. Oh man.
But yeah, no, they
Pause while
basically.
we change games.
But yeah, no, we went over. Yeah, that's pretty much it. The only other thing they were going to go was like, oh yeah, buy equipment. You're in prison. I keep telling you guys this. You don't get
Awesome.
any equipment, so
I
it
would
saves
like-
us a lot of trouble. I see actually where the benefit of this adventure comes from.
Yeah.
Hey, you know all that stuff about finding equipment? Forget it. You have nothing. Good day, sir.
I want a shank.
Hey,
you want
you're finally
chips?
awake.
Michael, do
trying
you want
to cross
chips or
the
something
border,
like
right?
that for momentum and chaos?
yes.
Okay.
I would appreciate that. So I'm going to go over a few other things, and just on character sheets and stuff like that, and then I'm going to go over like how to use momentum, how chaos works, and how how the void point work. Nice.
It's good because it's big and ominous right in the middle of
Yeah,
the
right.
character sheet.
One.
And by the way, that symbol right above the void point, that's the mark of that particular entity I keep mentioning about. So,
Yeah.
That's the mark that would be on you.
yep.
That's right. The candies.
the what?
The candies.
Oh, the
It's been what six or more months since I've been. We've gamed it.
Oh yeah.
And Barry's here. It's just
Apparently, the part of me is going to be played by Phoenix. Oh, now he's gone.
my
I leave, he immediately takes my chair.
my future diabetes Thanksgiving.
Right?
So, let's see here. So, like I said, final things. Name. Everyone's got names. Appearance. You guys can describe that later. I'm not worried about it. Personalities. I'm sure you guys are working on it. Relationships. Characters in a relationship room. We have at least one contact. They obviously interact with the other player characters. We'll worry about that later. Rest of the family. Blah 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 blah. Depending on how people like this game, maybe we'll actually be able to do the whole little adventure of the oil trail.
I gotta say, I already like my character a lot.
Good, you're the first to die.
Hey, that's fine. I'm okay.
As long as you die in a cool way, it's fine.
So, just to make sure we got all these questions answered. Who were you before the insurrection? Did you have family or profession? I know Pedro's already done it. I know you've done it. Barry?
I'm sorry, what was that?
Who were you before the insurrection? Did you have family or a profession?
I have parents. I did not have wife, kids, love, or anything like that. Where was I?
Who were you before the insurrection?
Who was I? I was an explorer before the insurrection. And actually, I was an explorer during much of the insurrection. By the end, though, I started seeing the inequalities and realizing that were I to find a new land or a new place, it wouldn't be what I wanted. It wouldn't be the expected utopia. Instead, it would end up being ruled by the overclass. And so I decided to hang up my traveling boots and put on my combat boots and join.
Okay, so that
And I'm
answers the question. of why
figuring
you
it
joined.
was kind of at Norton's insistence at Angus's bar.
Okay. All right.
Before it went up in flames.
Yeah.
Right. Right. Well, I'm assuming that's the one of the last acts.
Yeah, I was definitely arrested shortly after that because I was still sitting there just watching the blaze with my bottle, just like, hey.
Maybe that's how we got caught. We were there going, oh, now where are we going to meet?
I don't know. I just had a good time to set the bar on fire.
Why did you join the insurrection? Did you answer, Ty, on why you joined the insurrection? Was it mainly just to stick it to your old man, or was it for other reasons?
Yeah, pretty much. It's payback time. I've been treated like garbage by my father and these aristocrats my whole life, and it's time to get some good old-fashioned payback. Started off by burning him up, and now I've been arrested, so I'm kind of just in it now.
Now you got time to really plan.
As I'm sitting there with my hands tied up. So, what do you guys want to do when we first get there?
During the insurrection, you did something notorious. What was it? I know you blew up a hospital. You burned down your bar with your dad and a bunch of soldiers in there. It was a big-time aristocrat. And, Barry,
Yes.
what did you... During the insurrection, you did something notorious. What did you do?
Yeah, I think his kids are upset with me.
But a lot of people are upset with you.
My half brother and sister.
That is a great question.
If you need me to come back to you, that's fine.
Well, no, I'm thinking something really ridiculous, like I assassinated one of their commanders.
Completely possible. How did it happen?
How did it happen? So you make things really difficult. All right. So how did it happen? Well, one evening I was at Norton. I was at Norton's place, and we were discussing the possibilities of a bomb. Angus joined us, and I realized poison would be better. But in the process, as I was learning what this commander was actually doing to people, taking away their rights, taking away their abilities, I couldn't wait for either an explosive or a poison, so I just snuck into his home and slit his throat.
Okay. Cool.
Nice
Very
and direct.
straightforward.
There we go.
I was slightly drunk.
Perfect.
Slightly.
All right. Somehow, however, you
Extremely.
got caught because of it. But
Barely
whatever.
remember what happened. Just know that I was there in some
I
capacity.
did it. I actually didn't kill him. I don't remember doing it. But I'm taking the credit for it.
Your Honor,
That's what
my
you're
client
doing.
does not remember doing it, therefore he cannot be accused of this.
Okay.
I think they have beer in jail.
So, to go over some of the mechanics for you. So, as I've mentioned, we've talked about the 2d20s and stuff like that, blah, 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 quite often. Now let's go to momentum. You earn momentum when you score more successes than you needed on a skill test. Each success above the difficulty turns into 1 point of momentum. Momentum can be used for many things, limited only by your imagination and the GM's permission. It can let you turn meager success into glorious triumph, achieving your goals with style, allowing you to pull off daring stunts and spectacular feats of heroism. If you get any momentum, you should note down how many points you've generated. A spare die or some tokens are good for tracking how much you got.
Right there. There's our tokens.
Once you've acquired momentum, you can choose to save it for later or spend it immediately. Saved momentum goes into a pool shared by all the players. The maximum amount of momentum that can be saved in this pool is 6.
Now, is that 6 per person, 6 for the group?
6 for the group.
Okay.
If the momentum pool is full, you can't save anymore. You can spend this saved momentum at any time alongside momentum you generate later during skill tests. At the end of each scene, 1 momentum is removed from the group's pool. Excuse me. You need to maintain momentum, or it will diminish over time. Hence the name. Spending momentum. The following uses for momentum are always available. You can use to spend momentum on one of these 3 options whenever they're relevant. Buying D20s. You can use momentum to buy bonus D20s for a skill test.
Up to.
This can be done before the dice pool is rolled, but after the GM has set the difficulty. It costs 1 momentum for the first die bought, 2 momentum for the second die, and 3 momentum for the third die. So in other words, it's 1, 3,
Pool,
6.
Right, a pool of 6 would give you that ability. All right.
Yep. You cannot buy more than 3 bonus dice for 3 bonus D20s for a single test, because you can only ever roll a maximum of 5 D20s. In a contest, both sides buy dice before anyone rolls, and you and your opponent should both decide how many dice you're buying in secret, so that you're not influenced by seeing how many dice your opponent has bought. You may not buy d20s or use any momentum whatsoever if rolling against another player character, whether as part of a contest or under normal skill checks. So,
Fair enough.
yep. Secret bidding, I'm not going to worry. Create truth. You can add, remove, or change facts about the scene, called truths, described and detailed on page 25-26, which I'm going to get to in just a moment. Spending 2 momentum establishes a new truth, changes a truth, or removes one currently in play. Truths created must relate to the skill test you've just made, or must be something that could naturally result from your actions, and the GM should agree it can be created or changed. Ask a question. You can spend 1 momentum to ask the Game Master a question about the scene. The Game Master will give you a truthful answer according to what your character would be able to discover in that situation and from that skill test, and the answer may not be a complete one. You can always spend momentum to ask a question, wait for the answer, and then spend more for additional questions. Now on to truths. People, places, and objects come in all shapes and sizes.
That's the truth?
And that is a truth. That's a truth. Congratulations, we've done it. You cracked the code. And where these differences matter, there are described using truths. A truth is something significant about the scene that makes an action possible, easier, or harder, or impossible. This helps provide information about the world of Dishonored in play. Truths can be written down on a piece of paper. There are 2 common types of truths defined by the things they're connected to. An object truth is the detail about a place or an object. A location should at least have 1 truth about it, such as quarantine city street, dank tavern, or rat-filled sewer. A character truth describes something about a character: wounded, intimidated, plagued by vicious rumors, or even accused of a crime. Remember that 1 truth I mentioned that binds you all together?
Mm-hmm.
Let me read that out again. Sorry.
Forged in Rebellion?
Forged in Rebellion. Yep. That's a personal truth for all of you guys. Character truth for all of you. A truth can be changed or completely removed from the game, either by the action of characters or the GM spending chaos. Truths affect your actions, or in those of other characters. They help the Game Master decide what is and what isn't possible and how easy or difficult things are to achieve. An action can be modified by more than 1 truth, and each truth does one of the following things when you attempt an action. The truth lets you attempt something you couldn't do otherwise. Example, a protruding edge allows you to climb a building. The truth makes something easier to do, reducing the difficulty of a skill test by 1. Example, a telescopic lens lets you see details clearly from much further away. The truth makes something harder to do, such as adding 1 to the difficulty of a skill test, or requires a skill test when 1 isn't normally needed. Example, darkness makes it harder to see enemies approaching. And
Can we buy a truth with momentum?
Yes.
Okay.
You spend 2 momentum to either
Yeah,
create
one
create a truth or change a truth. As long as it relates and it's something I can say is reasonable based on the skill you've done or can be done about the situation. The truth means you cannot do something you would normally not be able to attempt. The truth means you cannot do something you would normally be able to attempt. Example, an overseer's music box stops you using supernatural powers. Adjudicating truths, or because X, Y. For ease, each truth can be placed in a simple statement, such as one of those below. If a statement makes sense, then it applies. If it doesn't make sense, then it doesn't apply. Because I am character truth, this action is blank. Because of object truth, this action is blank. The end of those statements is one of easier, harder, possible, or impossible. At the simplest level, this is as far as the GM needs to go. If the statement ends with easier, reduce the difficulty. If it ends with harder, increase the difficulty. If it ends with possible, make the action, then the action can be attempted if the truth applies. When it ends with impossible, then it can't be attempted while that truth applies. One other thing. Assistance. Assistance allows several characters to contribute to an activity. If the situation, time, and the GM allow, several characters can work together when attempting a skill test. If you assist another character, they are considered to be the leader for the purposes of this test, and you are considered to be the assistant. The GM may set a limit on how many assistants can help on a single test, or apply other limits or costs for assisting. The leader rolls their tests normally, with each assistant rolls a single d20 using their own skills and style. You don't all have to use the same skills or focuses. and can often be useful for an assistant to help by providing something different, such as one person who talks boldly to draw attention away from an ally who's trying to move quietly nearby. If the leader scores at least one success, then the assistants can add to their successes to the leader's total. If the leader scored no successes, then any scored by the assistants are lost.
And are the assistants added via momentum?
No.
All right. So
Assistants can't buy any extra dice for the test. If
Right,
you're
right.
assistant, you are limited to a single d20. Any complications rolled by anyone will affect everyone involved in the test.
the ask a question for momentum,
Mm-hmm.
is that a one question, one momentum?
Yes.
Okay.
Now we're going to get to chaos.
So here's my question. It's in 11 parts.
That's how you get the GM to kill you.
So good. Anyway, chaos. Chaos is measured in points, which are added to and taken from a pool that the GM controls, and which should be visible to all players. The chaos pool is normally represented by a collection of tokens, with each token representing a single point of chaos. The Game Master begins adventure with 2 points of chaos for each player at the start of the game, though this may vary.
So you get 6.
6, barring anything the adventure tells me otherwise. Boo.
I see how it is.
So as we spend momentum, it will go into your chaos pool with no maximum for your chaos pool.
There is no maximum of the chaos pool. There are other ways I can gain chaos too, but we'll go over that. If the Game Master begins adventure with 2 points of chaos for each player, though the game vary. If the stakes are high and the world is in disarray, the GM may begin with more chaos, while a calmer, quieter situation may reduce the amount of starting chaos. Explain more details in running the game. I don't want to worry about that. Chaos is added to the GM pool by a few different ways, some of which are options for the players. Buying D20s.
Okay.
You guys can buy bonus D20s for a skill test by adding to chaos. Functions the same way. 1 die for 1 chaos. Second die adds 2 more, and the third die adds 3. So it'd be 6 points if you wanted 3 dice.
But wait a
from
minute.
chaos.
So are we giving you? Isn't that the same as momentum?
But you are going to just say, you know what? I don't have any momentum. I'm going to risk adding to the chaos pool to get more D20s. So that's for you guys.
Is there any way for us to reduce your chaos pool?
I'm going to go over that. So, complications. With the GM's permission, whenever you suffer a complication, you may create 2 chaos instead of having the GM come up with a negative truth. Chaotic action or circumstances. At time, the Game Master may state that a specific action risks making the situation more chaotic. This might be using lethal force against innocent bystanders or authority figures, walking to a public pace while heavily armed, allowing alarms to be sounded, or a large number of enemies to be alerted in similar actions. The GM should tell you when an action is chaotic, and how much chaos the action will create, normally between 1 and 5 points, depending on how serious the action's effects will be. And then you have the option of either continuing with that action in spite of the warning, or choosing to do something else. Otherwise, they might just create chaos after you've done something chaotic. So some examples. Chaotic action. Cheating at the betting table might generate 1 chaos.
Sure.
Extortion, 3 chaos. Reckless murder, 5 chaos.
Wait, we
But it's
aren't
not-
supposed to be killing people in this?
But it's not a guarantee.
Not a guarantee.
Murder could conceivably create no chaos.
Knowing the game, I'm loving a lot of these mechanics and how it translates. Because, like, in the game, you have the option to not just kill people, but the more people you kill, it actually increases. They have, like, a level amount of, like, rats that are in the game. And the more people you kill, there's more bodies in the street, so there's more rats. And it actually mechanically affects the world. So these rats can, like, swarm, and they can end up hurting you in the end, too. It's really interesting.
Using chaos. So this is when I get to use it. So you get to use momentum. Doesn't add to chaos. Everything else, though, there's a lot of other ways.
So wait, if we use momentum, it does not add to your pool.
Not in this game. No.
Okay, all right. Then, so if we get momentum, we spend it, it goes in the bucket.
Yeah. Momentum before chaos.
If we wanted to use chaos, it goes to you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because you might just be in situations where you just don't have the momentum. You need that clutch. So, unlike momentum, I just keep piling. So, Game Master can use the same way you can use momentum. I can buy d20s for NPC rolls. I can create a truth after an NPC roll. I can prevent the players from creating a truth as a result of the NPC's complications, which requires 2 chaos.
Okay.
Of course, I don't get to ask questions because I'm the GM. I can't just...
Right.
I was like, I'm going to spend one to ask myself a question. I should hope I know what I'm doing.
I'm glad somebody knows what they're doing.
It's good if at least one
So
person does.
are we kind of ready to get going?
Well, there's one last thing I want to go over.
One more thing.
One more thing.
Gotcha.
Because
one
we
more.
have... There's
Then I
one
get to
more
punch a
point.
guard.
There's one more point system we haven't discussed.
Uh-huh.
The void point.
Yes.
Oh, yes, the big ominous one.
The player characters are special. They have a drive and determination unlike that of those around them, and their dreams touch the edges of the void.
Stupid NPCs.
And they are touched by it in turn. Unbeknownst to them, their actions will shape the world and the fate of those around them.
Ooh.
The player character possesses void points, which you can use to gain an edge in a tense situation and achieve the seemingly impossible. You may only have a number of void points equal to your void point maximum. Any excess points are immediately lost. You begin the game with a void point maximum of 3. So you can save, but you only will ever be able to have a max of 3 at this time. You can spend 1 void point to do one of the following. Reroll. Reroll any number of d20s in your dice pool during a skill test, taking the second result. You can't reroll a reroll.
Excuse me.
Create truth. Immediately create, change, or remove a truth in the scene. These kinds of story declarations should make sense for the story, though they can often come in the form of flashbacks or from a supernatural source, and the Game Master has the final say over whether a suggested detail is valid. Critical success. You treat one of your dice as if it had rolled a 1 with a focus, even if you don't have one that applies, giving you 2 automatic successes. In addition, if you possess void powers, your void point maximum determines how much mana you possess. None of you have that, so don't worry about it. Gaining void points. Aside from gaining 1 void point at the start of each session, there are a few ways you can gain them during the play. Faction code. You can earn a void point whenever you abide by your faction code. This means doing something to perpetuate the worldview of your faction, which can be shown in the faction summaries. None of you are in a faction for right now.
Right.
For example, a character in the Dead Eels gang could gain a void point after stealing from an enemy gang, blah, blah, blah.
Basically character points.
GM reward.
Chips.
You can be given additional void points by the Game Master as a reward for good role-playing, clever plans, or successfully overcoming difficult or important challenges. Voluntary failure. You may choose. You may choose to fail a skill test to gain a void point. This can only be done when you've got something significant to gain or lose, and you may use truths, such as your personal ones, for inspiration. You must make the decision before rolling any dice, and the GM must agree. The skill test fails automatically, and no dice are rolled.
Okay.
Okay. So, anyone have any questions, concerns, anything about the world that you might want to know a
Nope,
bit more?
I'm sure I will at some point.
Yep.
Yeah, no, I'm
That'll cost you chits. I'm just
and now's the free time.
Right, now is the free questions.
No.
Okay.
No, I think I'm good to get into some guard punching.
I realize now I was like, oh, I should have taken lock picking.
Okay.
Well, we hope you've enjoyed character generation for the Dishonored role-playing game by Modiphius Games. NCRP Productions has more to come. Why don't you step into episode 1?